welcome to the Golden Hour podcast. Thanks for coming on, guys. We got Casey. What's your name on YouTube? How do you actually say it?
GxAce.
GxAce.
The GX doesn't mean anything, basically, and I guess the ace doesn't really either. But
and then David Imel previously from Android Authority, and then recently, I don't know if. Am I allowed to talk about?
Yeah, you're allowed to talk about it. Yeah.
Now you're working with Marques Brownlee, MKBHD.
Yeah.
So real exciting stuff. Also,
new
roommates.
up and coming channel.
Yeah, up and coming tech channel. So we've got some real amazing creators here today. So thank you guys for joining me. I was a little late because I had to heat up my Salisbury steak for my family that's arriving in about an hour. But
I've been jealous ever since you had Michael on the podcast and I was just listening down there.
Yeah, so David, if you aren't aware, is roommates to Michael Fisher from Mr. Mobile.
Yep.
How's that? Are you still roommates?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. No, we're BFFs, you know. We watch a lot. We watch a lot of Star Trek and movies and cook dinner together, and it's very romantic.
That's a really cute relationship you got.
Oh, it's great. No, and then we have David Kogan, the Unlocker, is like in our little bubble, so we hang out with him all the time. And
you guys have your own little Team 10 house over there.
Yeah, sort of. Like. We shared a studio for a year, but like the pandemic happened, so we didn't really use it that much, like at all. Casey got to see the studio for a bit.
I think the first time I went to your place was when Michael was like ridiculously sick.
Oh yeah,
that was the first time I was there. Yeah.
Yeah, Michael got like almost. Yeah. I don't know, some illness. Anyway, yeah. That's
awesome. And
that's that.
How do you guys know each other? Like, how did Casey?
Okay, I will tell you the story of how we met.
Yeah.
So CES 2018. Or might have been 2017. I need to look back.
Back when people met in public.
Well, I didn't meet him in person. So
okay.
I was sitting.
Casey's like, wait.
It was like maybe 10 a.m. and I think I had an event at like 11:30. So I was sitting in a cafe in like the Bellagio or something, like just with a coffee. And I just like opened up YouTube, and I don't remember what video it was that Casey made. I think it was the
X-Pan one.
The X-Pan one, because I had just bought a TX1, or I was looking into a TX1. So I watched his video called like I made my own X-Pan, and it's about how Casey made his own panoramic adapter to basically give you that 65 by 24 anamorphic look. And I watched it and I was like, holy crap. So I like looked at his channel and he had like 4 videos. And I was just like, what? This guy's so freaking talented. Like, how does he have 4 videos? So I messaged him through like every social platform I could find. And I think we ended up connecting through Instagram.
Yeah.
Eventually. I remember I was in China.
I was in China when you texted me.
Oh, you were in China.
When you messaged me, yeah.
Yeah.
I think you just came back from China.
I had just come back from China.
And I had like just got there. Yeah.
Right. So we started talking about China, and then we started talking about whatever. And then eventually, I don't remember the first time. Was the first time we met in person ever when you stayed in my house?
I think so.
Yeah,
that was for
the Fuji event. Fuji
but that was
XT4 event.
Yeah, or it was the X Pro 3 launch.
Oh, right.
But it was at some photo convention in New York. I forget, Photo Plus.
Photo Plus or Photo
something
Plus.
like that.
Photo Plus Expo.
And
right. That was a separate event from the XT4 event, right?
Yeah. Yep. That was next.
Okay. Yeah. So we hung out at Photo Plus Expo, and then just, I don't know, had a good time. And now we talk about cameras all the time. Yeah.
I mean, that is quite a hilarious story.
Yeah, you can become friends with anybody through the internet if you try.
It's true, enough. Man. I mean, that's how we're all sitting here today. I mean, David, I don't know how you and I started talking on Twitter at some point. I don't know.
I remember you slipped into my DMs once, I think, and then we started texting. But but I'd seen you all over the internet for like a couple of years. So
yeah, and
there's that
we just kind of became friendly over text, and then Casey, I've been watching your stuff every time you post, and recently, what was I doing? Oh yeah, 2 months ago when I was at Indie Mogul, I was working on the history of the A7S video, and it was like I was talking about all three cameras. We rented all three, and I did like side-by-side comparisons, and I just kind of wanted to tell the story of the A7S. And I was just looking online for like inspiration or just, things I could steal for my video. And I stumbled across your video you posted 2 months ago, why you should buy the original A7S in 2045.
Yeah.
And I've seen your stuff before. Like, I was talking to David about you previously anyways. Like, I don't know how it even came up. I think we were talking about film cameras, and then I maybe even mentioned your name, and he was like, oh yeah, we're buddies. I was like, oh, okay. So I always knew you were friends with David. And so I hit him up, and after watching that video, I was like, dude, do you think he'd be down to do the podcast? And we could do a dual show, and here we are today. So
nice,
pretty crazy
awesome
stuff.
Well, yeah, I've been watching Kinotika for a while, and I've heard of Indie Mogul's been around for forever. So
I know.
Yeah. So
well, I'm gone now, so
yeah.
that was short-lived. Yeah, I'm here in Nashville.
Well, I commend you for even trying to live in Southern California, because it is like my least favorite place on the planet. So I understand.
Yeah, I lived there for 3 years, and very enjoyable. The weather's great. People are overall pretty great. But I have a wife and kids, and it wasn't a good place. And like now we're in this, like this is one of 5 bedrooms that I have now.
Oh, wow.
This is the smallest one. And it's $900 cheaper to rent this house than it was at my apartment in LA. So it's just ridiculous. So.
I don't envy the LA or you, Dave, in New York.
Yeah,
Michigan's pretty not bad in that department.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I bet it's
I've
even
only
cheaper
lived
there,
in
right?
the 2 most expensive cities in the US.
Yeah.
So San Francisco and New York City. Great.
So if anybody's seen Casey's stuff online, you know what I'm talking about. But if you haven't, I would encourage you to absolutely check out his stuff. Casey, you've developed this style and this format that is so unique and so incredible. And David and I both are huge fans. And now I'm excited that, we're friends. But how did you develop this style? What the heck was going on in your brain to come up with this idea of essentially being in a spaceship, not acknowledging it, and talking and acting like a normal person, but yet you're in a spaceship? Like, it's this hilarious kind of blend of like, what the flip is going on here?
And we have to note that like it's like a realistic spaceship. It's not like cartoony or low quality. Like, it looks like he's in the future.
Well, if you actually knew what all this stuff was made out of, yes, you would realize it is pretty low quality.
It doesn't matter. It's the power of the camera, the power of framing.
Yeah, I avoid answering the questions of like how it's put together because it's embarrassingly low quality. But I eventually plan on making a video about that at some point.
Well, I think that's more impressive than just buying a ton of expensive stuff. So.
Yeah, well, because it sort of morphed into the way it looks now, just because I had this like grand idea of like wanting to have this cyberpunk sort of like collector's room is kind of what I like pictured myself being in. I know the spaceship thing sort of caught on, which I don't personally see it as a spaceship, but I know a lot of people do. But I don't know, I just like weird sci-fi stuff, and it doesn't have to have a purpose to it necessarily.
So it was supposed to just be like a cyberpunk themed set is what you were going
basic.
for?
Well,
Okay.
yeah, but I was actually inspired by some art by this dude called Deathburger on Instagram. I don't know if you guys have heard of him, but he makes like really awesome cyberpunk art, and he did some stuff for like foreign covers of the Neuromancer book, which is one of my favorite books. But I just remember there's this one like piece that he did in particular. It's this sort of dude with like, crazy stuff all over his head in this like super packed tech-filled room, like kind of like tinkering with something. And I was like, that's what I want my YouTube channel to be, is like that picture.
Yeah.
So since my ideas are generally larger than I have the capacity to do, I just took whatever I found in my basement and made this instead of kind of just never doing it because I wanted it to be perfect and I wanted to have all this other stuff. I was just like, what do I have laying around that I can make look as cool as I possibly can, basically.
And like David said, I mean, your channel isn't like, you don't have hundreds of videos, you know, you are very selective with your topics. Every single video that you make is a total banger in terms of the quality. So I think you're able. Yeah, I mean, you're able. Is that the reason? Like, I mean, are you a full-time working, you know, cinematographer as well? Like, who are you? I feel like I don't know who you are.
Give us your life story, Casey.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to say that my lack of videos is due to my intense adherence to quality, but partially because I procrastinate and just don't make as many as I should. But I do sort of psych myself out with wanting it to be perfect, and I want it to be unique. And if I see, I don't want it to just look like another YouTube video. That's kind of my driving force behind pretty much everything I do. So, which has actually sort of like hindered me in a lot of ways, because I'm like, man, it'd be cool if I showed this thing, but then it's like really hard to fit that like within the style. Like if I wanted to do something more candid, like I'm still trying to figure out how to.
Hey guys, so I'm in my spaceship.
Here's my dog. And like
so
we're just working on something in the garage. Yeah, so I'm just trying to figure out how to. I mean, I probably just need to do it and stop just overthinking things. But that's sort of the driving factor of it. But yeah, I used to. I've pretty much been a commercial cinematographer for like 6 years, actually probably more like 9 years. And basically a year ago, basically following like a relatively slow winter, because winters are usually really slow for freelance work.
Why is that? No, I'm just kidding. Michigan in the winter, I would imagine, is hard to get around.
Yeah, and sort of driven by the fact that I needed like an actual health insurance plan. I started doing a full-time like video production gig for a Fortune 500 insurance company. So I've been working for them for the last 2 years. Sort of was planning on probably going back to freelance, and then Corona hit, and now it's like the perfect setup ever because we work from home and it's salary. So I'm gonna just keep riding this while it's work from home. But
nice.
But yeah, so it's
that's where your living is right now, currently, kind of full time.
Yeah. Yep. So but I've been working on trying to find more stuff to do freelance wise, like on the post side of stuff. Like some of the stuff I've been doing in my videos. You probably saw the fake commercial that I made. So
that's great.
Working on more 3D stuff, and want to get more into that cool. and compositing and stuff. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, David, what were some of the first questions that you asked him when you met him?
Oh gosh, I feel like I need to like look at our Instagram now and just like see. I probably asked him about.
I specifically remember it being in a hotel room when you messaged me.
Was I in a hotel room? Yeah,
no, I was in a hotel.
Oh, you were in a hotel room.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't remember.
You were probably in China. I honestly don't remember, but I think it was related to like the TX1 or X-Pan or something like that.
Well, yeah, actually, I have a video on my channel of how to film a video in that hotel room, and that was the hotel room I was in when you messaged me.
Well, I particularly remember that I think both of us are pretty good at like adapting to the spaces we're in for shooting. Because I did that for like 4 years. I didn't have a home, and so I was shooting in tons of different places. But then I saw your video that you shot in like a hotel room, and I was just like, how do I get this quality? And then you were like, don't worry, I'm going to make like a video on how to do this.
Oh, yeah, I'm pretty sure, yeah.
That's such a YouTuber response when you're like having a normal conversation with somebody, and then you're like, don't worry, I'll make a video.
Videos coming soon.
Videos.
I'll send you a link soon. But no, David, tell me about your journey as a YouTuber. I mean, you've been on YouTube for forever. Like, you've been working in this industry as a tech journalist. I don't know the full story either. So tell me your story and about the travel. I mean, 39 countries.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Wait, before we get into that, I want to read. I finally got to the top of our Instagram. It took me forever to scroll because,
That's funny.
January 7th, 2019. Okay. So actually only 2 years ago.
Okay.
I said, hey man, I just saw your video on your digital X-Pan. I'm a technology journalist and photographer, and I shoot with an X-T3 as well. Would love to chat about your process. The color grade was something I've been looking to achieve for a long time. And then you messaged me 4 days later, and you told me how you did it, blah, blah, blah. And then we just kept talking forever. And
that's cute.
Yeah. Oh, we also went to Vancouver.
We went to Montreal.
Montreal together.
Yeah.
And
we met Take and
Ko, Big Head Taco,
Juan,
who runs Beers and Cameras.
Big Head Taco, I know him.
Yeah,
he's cool, dude.
Yeah, Take Ko, he's awesome.
Yeah, like when I got into my Leica phase, I like consumed all his content.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I used to watch his videos in like 2016.
He's another one of the old guard of YouTube,
right?
Camera YouTube,
before it became kind of mainstream.
With him and Kai W.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Digital Rev TV. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and we went to the Beers and Cameras is like a group of people who just like get together at breweries and bring their cameras, whether it's Fuji's or analog or whatever, and it's a fun group.
That's awesome.
Not sponsored, but yeah, it's really good.
And also not happening right now, right?
Yeah, not happening. They're San Diego based though, so if you're ever back in Southern California,
yeah.
But they have a bunch of chapters. So anyway, yeah. So I got into writing about technology. I started as a writer, right? And I got into writing about technology in like 2015. I was into Android development in like 2012. I started like the technology and business group at my high school. And then in college, I was a computer science and economics double major. Worked at
fancy.
Intel.
Amazing.
Worked at Intel for 2 years as an engineer. And I was like, this sucks. I hate working for a giant corporation. I had been writing for a tiny technology blog on the side for basically free. I would get like a $20 check every month for just writing like 3 or 4 articles a day. And I remember I just applied to like a million different places because I was at Intel and I was like, I'm tired of coming in and just like working an engineering job. And so I ended up getting hired part-time by Android Authority, and I kind of did both at the same time. So I'd like wake up, write 2 articles, drive to work. And I would wake up at like 4 a.m., write 2 articles, get ready, drive to work, write 2 more articles on my lunch break, work more, drive home. And it was a 2-hour drive from...
You had 2 full-time jobs.
Yeah, I basically had 2 full-time jobs for like 2 years, and it was very hard. And then at one point, Android Authority was just like, hey, if you want to come on full-time, we'd be down for that. And I was like, okay, that sounds way more interesting, you know? So I just decided to do that.
Is that how you met Michael too?
Yeah. I didn't actually get into doing YouTube until like 2017, 2016 or 2017, because I was never actually a photographer. Like I hadn't touched a camera until 2017. And I was just kind of a writer, but I wanted to be able to go to these like events because I'd gone to a few press events for work, for writing. And it's like my favorite thing is like meeting people and like just learning about stuff and traveling. And so I kind of figured out how to do YouTube to kind of like aid my love for traveling and people and stuff. Mm-hmm. And then I realized like when I bought my camera, because I first bought a GH5 because it got announced at CES 2017. Oh, heck yeah. I bought it. I got it. I knew nothing about cameras and I like hated it. Because I think for people that like,
it's a bad camera to be your first one.
I think so, because it's a very technical camera, right? Like its technical capabilities are like insane, but it felt very like so many buttons and menu settings and features, and I just didn't know what was going on. Yeah. Partially because I didn't know how aperture worked. I didn't know how ISO worked. I didn't know any of that. So it was like hard for me to understand it. And then on YouTube, I saw, I think it was like Eber Anthony from Hardware Canucks or Brandon Lee from Linus Tech Tips. One of them did a review of the Fuji X-T2 that had just come out.
Yeah.
And I was like, that looks like way more interesting. Went on Instagram, found that like most of the photographers that I liked on Instagram were using Fuji cameras, and it just must be like a style thing because I was really into like noir style photography at the time. and bought an XT2. And I basically I fell in love with it immediately. And I actually wanted to just go shoot photography all the time. Like I flew to Japan just so I could do photography. And anyway, that all just kind of blossomed into like getting better at photography is kind of like tertiary to getting better at video. You know, it's kind of just like, as long as you understand framing, you can kind of learn all the other stuff. So anyway, long story short, that's the long form. I don't know if you wanted the long form, but
hey, that's what podcasts are for.
Yeah, true. So I just started doing YouTube, and I guess at AA I just started doing more and more and more. And
when did Android Authority give you the push to do the channel to do content on the channel?
So my first video is in like early 2017, and it was really bad. It was really, really bad. And I actually remember asking Michael, we were in Hawaii together for a Qualcomm thing. And I was like, how do you get better at video? Just like, I don't know what I'm doing. So yeah, I don't know. Just, it's one of those repetition things. And
that's
like
awesome.
Android Authority used to have like 7 hosts. It was like a lot.
Okay.
We had a lot of people. So what was really nice is that I would get like 2 weeks to do a review. So I dedicated myself to like every single time I would make a video, I wanted to try something new that I would have to like research how to do it, right? Like a special effect or like a voiceover thing. So I feel like doing that kind of thing, you kind of progress pretty quickly.
Yeah, totally.
I would say it took about a year for me to get like feeling competent. But then I just started doing videos for them as basically my full-time thing. And I became like lead producer in 2018 or 2019.
Okay.
And I was just doing that up until literally a month ago. So
I mean, that's crazy that they just kind of threw you in there like that. I don't know about you, Casey, but I've been a filmmaker, freelance video person since I was 17. I didn't even start YouTube till 3 years ago. I'm 30, so you can do the math on that. But
yeah, that's pretty much my same timeline there.
Yeah, so the fact that David was able to just kind of get a camera and start working immediately, I mean, that's kind of nuts. And there's a lot of YouTubers up and coming, even teenagers that are just starting channels and having no experience. And I think it's cool because you can actually see the journey. You can look at David's stuff now, and like your stuff now has progressed so much since then.
Well, there's just like so much good information and like knowledge of like learning how to do stuff now. It's like ridiculous.
I see 13-year-olds on YouTube that are just they're starting to like you said, Dave, like you can see their progression from like their first video, and like the speed at which they're progressing is like ridiculous. I'm like, you're gonna be better than me in like 2 months. Like I am so worried about my future.
It's cool because it really has democratized everything. I mean, if you want to do video, there's just an endless amount of information out there. And even, cheap cameras, you can buy a used XT2 right now for probably nothing, right?
It's like $400, if not less.
I mean, that's not nothing, but you could buy something even cheaper probably. And get away with it, or just use your phone that's in your pocket. But
yeah, right.
I don't know about you guys, but like that's always the argument. Like you just use your phone, like the phone's really good. But I still think phones look like phones. Like they
Well, that's funny you say that because I'm like 100% agree with you. But the Apple just released something. It was shot by the director of The Farewell. It was like a promo for the iPhone 12 Pro Max or whatever, like a short film. That's the first film that I've actually seen shot with a phone that actually looks good. I mean, there's a few shots in it that it's like you wouldn't shoot that with deep depth of field. Yeah, but I'm like that's definitely the best I've ever seen.
Did they show like the rig? Like, was it attached to any sort of rig with like?
It was literally just the camera on a gimbal. On a single-handed gimbal. Wow. I know they usually use like 35 millimeter adapters and stuff, but yeah.
So I did a big video with iJustine and Armando for Indie Mogul where we compared the Alexa to the iPhone. I don't know if you guys saw it, but
I did, yeah.
It was kind of ridiculous, and it didn't turn out the way I wanted. That was one of the breaking points for me of why I quit. But that's another story. But it didn't turn out the way I wanted, but it is what it is. But anyways, one of the things that I noticed was exactly what Casey you just said. Like if you want any type of depth of field, then you just can't get it. But if you're doing wide landscapes, if you're doing wide shots, where you've got that deep depth of field, the image is actually good enough to hold up next to real cameras now, especially with
I mean, as long as the dynamic range is high enough, like you shouldn't really
and
be able to
sometimes
tell
it's
the
way
difference.
better.
It does 10-bit.
Dynamic range is like better in a lot of cases. Like I help Michael with videos a lot, and I started like helping him last year, and like very frequently, we'll be shooting with the A7S III or a Fuji or something, and he'll just be like, "Get the shot with the iPhone." I'll be like, "Really?" And then we'll go out. We'll be outside, take the shot with the iPhone, and we watch it back on his computer. I'm just like, one, the sky is blue, and you're well exposed. I don't know how that happened. And then two, you can't you can barely tell that this was shot on a phone like that. The video is getting so good.
It is.
But
And I think like once like they can do, once like the AI gets smart enough and the
like artificial bokeh and stuff.
Yeah, once that actually gets good, like I don't think there will be, at least to the layman, definitely not to the layman. They wouldn't be able to tell the difference, I don't think. Like as long as I could get the bokeh to look convincing.
That's the problem. Still to this day, portrait mode on iPhones is terrible.
Yeah.
They just need like infinitely more levels of layering. Because right now, like it's gotten better, obviously. Like I remember the first forms of portrait mode were like foreground, background, and everything that is background is just like bad blur.
Yeah.
Whereas really physics is like, it's not even linear. There's a calculation for determining depth of field. And Google, like on the Pixel 3, I think it was. I remember I was interviewing Mark Lavoie, who used to run the Pixel video camera systems, and he was all excited because they added 4 levels of depth of field. So it's better, right? And then now I think it's like 9, but it needs to be like it needs to be able to scale because right now it's just it still looks like a cutout.
Hopefully LiDAR will become more of a thing and it'll get more granular. I think that's really the secret, right? Is if we can get the depth data exact with multiple points, then you can really start doing that. And then what I'm excited about, remember there was this company that had this big, expensive box that was basically like, you could control it was the company that made that little box camera that was real expensive that you could change the focus and the Lytro. Yeah.
Yeah.
That company Lytro, they went to NAB one year and they had a big, cinema version of it. And they were saying like in the future, your NLE will have support to basically touch a face in your editor and have focus tracking in post.
Oh yeah.
And then you can change your aperture in post.
Yeah.
And then you could also have plugins that simulate different types of lenses that you can apply in post. So imagine if you could just click a button and simulate an anamorphic lens.
Yep.
I mean, and you can already, like on my phone, like there's this awesome app called Focus, like FOCOS.
Exactly.
That app is really good, and it actually has like really granular settings for changing characteristics of bokeh, and like, I don't know.
So, David, I want to finish your story because now you are working for Marques Brownlee. Tell me about that job. I mean, that's cool.
Okay, so I actually start on Monday.
Okay.
I took a month off. I know. I took a month
sure.
off. Well, I signed a contract, so I hope he doesn't drop me between then and now. And I got my Slack account and my email address today. So,
what is it? What, David?
David,
we're not going to dox you. So.
Okay, yeah. Well, whatever. Yeah, it's a very cool email address. I don't really know what that everything it's going to entail. Obviously, like it's a super flexible position. And Marques actually did an interview with The Verge a few weeks ago about like how do you scale a brand that is based around one person, right? And I've noticed this recently. There's a lot of tech YouTubers and just YouTubers in general that are starting to hire crews, right? Yeah. Like previously, I think like Linus Tech Tips was like one of the only channels that had like quite a few employees.
I think he's got like 50 employees.
He has over 50, yeah. But they also have like 6 channels, right? Like they have like 6 channels. So
one of the fascinating things for me is I think he has like 5 or 6 writers full time. Mm-hmm.
I actually almost worked for them as a writer in 2016.
Wow. Yeah, you would have been a good fit there.
Yeah, I would have had to move to Canada, which I
Yeah.
was like into, but then I got the offer from Intel, and at the time I wanted to work for Google ultimately. So it was like
Okay.
and
That was your
disclosure,
aim.
my sister and her boyfriend work for Google, so there's that. But
Okay.
anyway,
I love it. You and Michael are like so by the book. It's great. Full
uh,
disclosure.
yeah, well,
Full disclosure. This entire video is sponsored by
here's the cameras.
Salisbury Steak.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. Sorry. I cut you
Anyway,
off.
yeah, as you can imagine, it's like a really flexible position because like I've noticed like Quinn Snazzy Q.
Yeah. Snazzy Labs.
He's hiring people. John Rettinger has employees. Like,
Yep. We interviewed one of his employees, Matt, was on the show.
yeah.
And then I've interviewed Ken Bolito on this show as well
from Austin Evans. Yeah. It's interesting that like YouTube is kind of now expanding into this thing, right? So yeah, I mean, Marques already had a few people on his team, right? Like Brandon Havard, who was probably one of my first YouTube inspirations that I like ever looked up to and this was in like 2014 or something, because his videos are insane. And
yeah, he's great, really
he's
talented.
great, and he's a great guy. We're friends now, and
well, you're working with him. I hope so.
well, we will be. We haven't worked together yet. Remember, I still have 3 days left. But then Andrew's amazing, Vin's amazing. So it's going from 3 employees to 6 employees. So it's me, Adam Molina, who actually was working with me on Android Authority, and we were very close.
Nice.
And then another friend of mine who I can't talk about
disclose yet. Yeah, sure.
But it's going to be a really cool team. My official job title is writer/researcher. So I'm going to, I guess Marques liked that I go really in depth about specific things and kind of go into like, I like talking about theory. So like computational photography, I've done a whole series on and that kind of stuff. And I just really like that stuff. So I guess he wants me to add to that, which I still don't feel like I can, but whatever,
You'll figure it out. I mean,
yeah.
Is he allowing you to do your own thing too on the side if you want to?
That's a really awesome thing about it too, is that he's actually really open and encourages both freelance work for other, if I want to write, I can go write for someone, or I want to have my own YouTube channel, I can do that. So that's really cool. And I'm really excited because like the people that work there are so talented that I feel like I can just soak up so much from them. So yeah, I'll mostly be like doing writing stuff, but like
awesome.
I'll be helping co-host the Waveform podcast, and
sweet.
Probably shooting and editing. And
are you gonna make the podcast more consistent?
That's something they're working on. Yeah, that's something they're working on. Adam Molina, my friend,
it's a lot of work.
Was at AA, is actually going to be the official like podcast producer. So
cool.
Yeah. So I don't know. It'll be flexible. Like he said in the interview, like he's looking to hire people who can kind of do everything. And I think that like as YouTubers, we have like 11 jobs, you know? So it becomes flexible.
So now that, so we've done our setup. We both understand each other fairly well. I didn't tell you my story, but everybody on this show has already heard it who's listening to this podcast. I could say that for another time, but what is the current state of YouTube for our niche? Now, obviously David is in the more, technology niche, but cameras are also technology. So they're kind of hand in hand. And I think a lot of the camera reviewers are friends with the tech reviewers. It seems to be
it's starting to be more of a crossover than it used to be. I can guarantee you. Like I used to watch a lot of camera YouTube when like the tech scene wasn't really blended into it. Mm-hmm. So like Gordon Lang from like Camera Labs, and
he's great.
Yeah, he's awesome. And then like there's Hugh Brownstone from 3 by Minute and Elephant. And then you got like Jordan Drake and Chris Nichols from like DP Review, who used to run the Camera Store TV. And so that used to be a very separate world. But I think because of the fact that technology is really weaving its way into cameras more now, and the release schedule of cameras is becoming way more frequent. Like before there was like a 2-year gap between, major camera and when they updated, it was like, some updates. But I think that camera brands are seeing so much pressure from the technology sphere, which just updates rapidly, right? Like the reason that I think smartphones are kind of the easiest like videos to make is because the frequency of releases and the amount of companies is so rapid that I can make like 2 videos. I could make like 2 reviews a week and I still wouldn't review every phone, you know?
Yeah, it's not as good for the camera market as phones for sure, but it seems
it's getting
as though
there.
Sony especially.
Sony in particular,
camera every day.
Yeah. And Casey, your channel, like if you just take a glance at it, you can see like you are not following the like trends of camera reviewers. You're not reviewing every new camera that comes out. It seems like you're intentionally choosing things that actually interest you.
Yeah, I mean, so it's hard to call my channel a review channel because I don't really review things. I only talk about things that I like. So I'm not gonna talk about something that I don't like because I don't want to talk about it. Like, it just isn't enjoyable to me. I don't take products that I'm not gonna use. Like I get offers all the time for stuff, and I'm like, I'm never gonna use that. So why would I talk about it?
That's awesome.
But like, even that the A7S III video, the 2045 thing, obviously that kind of fits into the style that I've put together, but it was also intentional that like, I have like an X100 video about the original one that's done pretty well, and I keep updating that to like say you should still buy it in 2019, 20, 21. And like people are like, oh, it's not, you said 2018 in the video, like it can't be good anymore. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. It's still the same camera. So I'm like, well, whatever. This camera's good in 2045. So you can't say that it's like past 2045 and the camera's no longer good. It's just like that. And that was a point that I made in that video. It's that like cameras have basically been good for the last like 5 years at least. And they're all pretty much to any non-professional, it's the exact same thing basically. Like they're all and they're all good. You can make good images with pretty much anything that's out. So that's got me like sort of jaded by camera YouTube because like I don't want to talk about every new camera because they're basically it's like it doesn't really matter. It's basically there's like some things that I would want. It's basically like all cameras are good and now they're like slowly making the perfect one for everybody. Yeah, sort of. So I sort of intentionally just talk about things with a specific kind of point in mind to the review that I'm trying to talk about. So
yeah, you're right. I think like Sony in particular, it seems as though because they have so many releases, people are like almost getting burned out from it. But what's really cool is every camera I'm seeing on Twitter, that comes out, there's somebody that needs that exact camera. Like I think right now the rumors are, and by the time you listen to this, it might be out already, but the FX3, I don't know if you guys saw the rumors on that. It's apparently just an A7S body in a more cinema focused body, but it's also smaller, I think, than the A7S III. Okay. There's no ND filters, but it's got S-Cinetone. It's got like
missing the perfect camera again. No,
I know. Well, they're
that's like the perfect camera to put it in.
They have the FX6, which is like the next level up or whatever. I think they designed it for the drone that they're working on, apparently.
Okay.
But like to cinema people, like I posted
also
about
perfect,
it.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, they posted about. I tweeted it, and I saw like a lot of YouTubers are like, oh, the A7S III is fine for me. Like, I'm happy with that. I'm not interested in this. But then all these people who are traditional like cinema shooters who own like an FX9 or an FX6, they're like, oh, this is perfect. I actually need a small hybrid, and I don't want to get an A7S III because it's not like it doesn't have all the pro video features that I want. Yeah. And so it's kind of like, and then people are like, well, I don't want this. I want like a Z camera or something. Like everybody has their own little niche now within the niche of video. It's crazy. Like when I started, I don't know about you, Casey, but I started right when the DSLR revolution was happening. I started in 2008 is when I started my professional career.
I mean, that's when I graduated high school, and that's when I
started.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, baby.
Nice.
Are you 30, 31?
31. Yeah. I have to think about that for a second.
Yeah. I mean, I was born in 1990, August 14th, 1990.
Well, yeah, so. Back when I started with camera, I had a DV camera, like a mini DV, a Canon HV20.
That's awesome.
Was like my first. But I remember back when I knew nothing about it, I was like, man, I know that like all the good cameras are long. So I need to get like a camera that's long.
Yeah,
it's true. And I don't know if you
like the
remember
broadcast cameras and stuff.
And I started right at that tail end of the lettuce adapter thing, which was like you took a camcorder and then there was like a little mirror box that would shoot into like a Nikon lens, and you would basically fake depth of field by looking at a focus screen of a lens with a camcorder. So the rig was like way out. It was this
and they were super
rig.
Expensive. And then they had like they were like the passive and active ones. The active ones had like a rotating glass, so you didn't see the grain of the focusing screen. I actually saw one for $20 the other day and almost bought it just because I was like, I never got to have one of these, and I want it.
That's how I was with the 1DC. I ended up buying 3 of them now, I think, over my career, because that was like the dream camera for me at the time. It was like a 4K DSLR, which was unheard of at the time.
Nice.
It was $15,000 when it came out, and I bought my last one for $1,400 on eBay. So, but
I mean, see, there's so many cool cameras you can get, even if they're not the top of the line. Like digital cameras are still fun. You can still use them.
Exactly, and I've heard a lot about the original 5D. Like it has a very film-like look to it, and there's a lot of people that still choose that. And you can buy those for like $200, $300.
The 5D Mark II, I think, was that the one that had the magic lantern thing that could do raw video?
Yeah, I mean the Mark III was the
III.
better one, I guess, because it did 1080p.
Oh yeah.
But the Mark II also. But I mean, the 5D Mark II was my first DSLR camera that I got to work with, and I mean that changed everything when we went to those cameras, because you immediately overnight went from cameras that were 5 feet long to a camera that's the size of a loaf of bread, or less than half of a loaf of bread. Anyways, everybody knows this already, but I don't even know what I was getting to with this whole conversation. But it is amazing how technology has advanced so much now to where we have these tiny little mirrorless cameras, and even like you've talked about, Casey, that the X100, the original, is still a great camera for photography. The original A7S is still great for video. So basically, one of the things that I've been struggling with in our niche is like, I can just make any video I want about camera gear and whatever, and it might perform well because it is like a catchy title or thumbnail. But I've noticed like people really want the quality of the video to be good. Otherwise, why should I listen to you? And it's kind of a weird kind of situation, because to be a YouTuber, especially if you're a solo creator, it's a lot of effort to to actually shoot it properly, because you're filming yourself. So you have to have a monitor, or, if you're, God forbid, if you're using a camera without good autofocus, you got to deal with that. So you look at Marques Brownlee, you look at Casey doing these amazing film cinematics. Josh Yeo, who I don't know if you guys know from Make Art Now, he does great cinematic films. I feel like to be successful in this niche, the tech and camera gear niche, you kind of have to be a good filmmaker.
I mean, I that was at least my sort of philosophy, since I sort of kind of have been focusing on photo, just because it's easier to take one picture than to make a film or something and talk about that for a YouTube channel. That's why I've sort of just been focusing on photography, since it's just like less work. But just like a lot of the photography YouTube channels, at least when I started, and even some now, just don't look very good. I mean, partially just because they're not video people, and I'm like, I feel like the channel should look good if you're talking about things that make things look good. I don't know. Like, I feel like you should practice what you preach. And I mean, there's a lot of like just bad sample photos, and that's one thing one thing that keeps me from putting videos out quickly, is because I like want to have like actual good photos. I mean, obviously, like, I've been to a few Fuji events now, and you get like 4 hours of the camera, and that's like really difficult to do it in that amount of time. But like I try to not just have like a picture of like a leaf or something,
or like the wall. Yeah, I've noticed that in camera YouTube a lot, that a lot of people kind of just take a bunch of random pictures, and it's similar in in like smartphone YouTube or like tech YouTube, because it's the same thing where you don't have a lot of time to do like the embargo, right? And like people want to see sample photos from a phone, but it's like you want to make them good photos if you can, but sometimes it's also very difficult because you're just like cut on time, or maybe it's the winter and like I don't know. It's one of those situations. I would maybe counter a little bit, like not counter, right? The question you asked about like the video quality needing to be good in like a tech video or like camera video. I think that like there are different avenues that you can take for like making quality content on YouTube. And my mind got very shifted when I watched a video from, the founder, Jack Conte, founder of Patreon.
Oh, the Patreon guy? Yeah.
Also in the band Pomplamoose and Scary Pockets. But he has a separate channel called like Jack Conte Extras. And I remember I was in Toronto at one point in a hostel, and I watched one of his videos from this extras channel, and it feels very like sporadic, right? Like he's using a GH5 and he's just running around and everything is really hectic and nothing like, but everything's planned out. And I think if you can like tell a compelling narrative, like storytelling, I think is just as equally as important as like video quality, right? And I think being able to like tell a compelling narrative that keeps people's attention is like equally important, you know? So I think that there's a lot of people that will take different directions. Like you look at video essay channels like Nerdwriter. I don't know if you know the Nerdwriter one YouTube channel. He's like one of my favorite video essayists, and like he has barely any B-roll, right? Not that he's reviewing a product, but he reviews movies and stuff. And
that's kind of my big question that I've been dealing with. And I was fortunate enough to interview Hayden Hillier-Smith, who's the editor for Logan Paul, about a month ago. And that was such an amazing interview for me, because that was kind of my first time talking to, you know, a pop culture, like true titan on YouTube creator. And they're intentionally shooting it poor to give it this authentic look.
Feel.
They shoot it handheld. They bake in the color. He doesn't ever color correct anything intentionally. But the mastery is actually in the editing and the storytelling.
Yeah.
And like there's still this professionalism in the storytelling that, you know, you watch it and you're like, oh, it's shot so poorly, these people don't know what they're doing. But then you actually watch it and you're like, holy
and you
crap,
watch the whole thing, right?
The story is so good. Hayden's such a brilliant editor. He won Best Editor on last year for the Streamies, which is awesome.
Oh, wow.
But because he did a couple of films last year for Logan, and it seems like things are changing from just this crazy like daily vlog thing to Mr. Beast and David Dobrik kind of changed it to where it's like you have these very scripted, entertaining, just nonstop videos that are so crafted and entertaining that you just can't stop but watch the entire thing.
Yeah.
And like Logan Paul is doing that now too, where it's just a really good story being told. But you contrast that with our niche, and like you look at MKBHD, you look at Linus Tech Tips, you look at just list any top creator in both niches. They both, like in both niches, all the top creators have good looking video.
But I also think they have both. That's the thing. Like I think Marques is like one of the best like storytellers. Like all of his videos that are 17 minutes feel like they're like 5 minutes, right? Like he's so natural on camera.
Yeah, that's a huge thing about it too.
Huge. It is huge.
Does he read a teleprompter?
I actually don't know. I'll figure that out.
Well, you'll find out on Monday.
I'll find that out next week. And then you go like Linus too. Like Linus is so natural on camera.
Yeah.
He is.
So I know he does read a teleprompter, right?
Yeah,
Sure
but he's so good at
does,
not making
he's
it
good.
seem like he's reading a script, and that's so equally important because like I was saying, like these 13-year-olds that are getting so good at video so fast. I think the biggest thing that will take improvement time is like just getting good on camera. And I think that just takes repetition, just tons and tons of repetition. You eventually get more natural. And think a big reason like Marquez is so good at it is because he's been doing it since he's been talking to a camera since he was like 12, right? So it's like
YouTube recommends that video to me almost every week. So.
Yeah, the update number 2. Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah. I'm like, this is a
funny.
12-year-old video. So it's crazy.
And I had the luxury of I was a magician professionally for 6 years before I ever started video. So I had the performance experience as well. And I've found a lot of people that, either they have experience on YouTube or they have some sort of prior, drama or like entertainment arts background. I mean, Michael Fisher had, he's got this great radio voice
and a voiceover artist. Yeah.
He's got a super good.
I was going to mention him too, and his scripting is so ridiculously good. He spends like a day or 2 days just scripting. I see him in his room. He's scripting. He was scripting all day today. So it's like, I think it's the people that can like effectively do both that are really in the like top 1% of like in terms of quality. And a lot of people like to lean on one side or the other, and that'll get you somewhere, but it probably won't propel you up into like the top tier.
Yeah.
You really just have to get good at like both sides.
Yeah, I mean, now it seems as though every day I'm discovering new YouTubers reviewing camera stuff, and their set looks better than my set, and like their lighting looks better than my lighting, and they've got, a couple hundred subscribers and, only posted maybe 3 videos, and, it's amazing how people are just kind of coming out of nowhere. I think a lot of people listening maybe think to themselves, okay, well, I can buy an Aperture 120D and a really good boom mic and make my little wood panels in the background and just start, and then make money. And it's, it just takes time, takes repetition, and it takes a lot of effort. So
and luck.
And luck, you're right. There's a lot of luck involved. I feel like people just aren't willing to acknowledge the luck sometimes. Like, I'm gonna say it. I interviewed Matty Apoya, but like, it's very lucky that he happened to be friends with one of the most successful photography-related YouTubers on the entire platform, Peter McKinnon. Like, I think he's willing to acknowledge that. The thing that makes him different than other people that have had interactions with Peter is that he has been able to harness it and grow his own thing. And I actually love what he's created on his own. And he's become his own person. However, he was absolutely very lucky to happen to be like best friends with Peter McKinnon. Dan Mace, right? Like, he was friends with Casey Neistat. Like, very lucky. Yeah. And here you are, David. Like, you live in an area in the country that happens to be near where Marquez is, and you happen to be in an industry that led you to be friends with
everything with Android Authority was luck, right? Yeah. Like, I don't know why they hired me in the first place. I think I was very obsessive about improvement, and that, like, once you get your foot in the door from luck, then there is a lot of personal, effort that you put in, and that comes out. Yeah. But also, like, the fact that I was able to get a full-time job that let me improve at something that I wanted to improve at. The other thing, Android Authority had 2 million subscribers when I joined, right? Like, that is completely luck. If I was starting my own Android phone review channel, like, it doesn't matter how good I was. It does, obviously. Like, you can grow over time with repetition, and I still believe that skill and repetition can triumph luck, but it will take an extra like 2 or 3 years, right? Being able to do that as my full-time job, so I didn't have to like spend my time doing something else, being able to like have access to all these phones, right? Like, getting review units. Like, I couldn't afford to buy like $1,000 phone every week if I was a solo YouTuber. Like, I don't know how people do it. Exactly. I don't know how people do it right now. So
I would return it. I would just buy it and return it after my review.
Yeah. I feel like you can only do that so many times before they start questioning you.
Yeah, that's why you go to Adorama, B&H, you go to like Sammy's Cameras, Amazon. You just cycle through it.
Dude, I've had some lucky sort of situations, I guess, sort of on a smaller scale than maybe other people. But like, I've tried to like push my videos out like manually, like send them to blogs and stuff, and post on Reddit and whatnot. But like, probably actually the reason that Dave saw me was because the marketing manager of Hasselblad saw my video about the Xpan or the DIY Xpan on Reddit, and he like emailed me, and then we were like chatting. And that was like the first time I like talked to some legitimate person in the camera world. And he's like, "Oh, your thing's awesome. We want to send you a $40,000 camera to try it out on because we're just curious as to what it looks like." So.
And then you made that video, and then I saw.
Then I made the video. Then I met you, and then you gave me Fuji's email address, and then I've been I know all the Fuji people now, and they have me out at events every now and then. So.
Casey, what are your like goals with YouTube? Is it a complete just playground for you, like a sandbox for you to just play in, or do you want to be a full-time YouTuber?
I feel it's sort of like evolved a bit as I've been doing it. I don't have very many videos, so I guess it hasn't been evolving that much. But I mean, honestly, I started the channel because I just really like cameras, and I was like, man, it'd be awesome if people could just send me them so I don't have to buy them, and then I can play with them.
Yeah, exactly.
So I can satiate my hunger for cameras, because I'm literally obsessed with cameras. I think I have like 60 cameras at my house. Like,
I
just legitimately like cameras.
Yeah, Casey sent me a spreadsheet of all the camera equipment that he has.
I just totaled up all of my.
You have to like
camera
scroll
equipment
down the page for like 10 seconds before you get to the bottom.
But like, so that, I mean, obviously kind of a dumb reason to start, but, and after my second video, I had a company send me something. So I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So goal achieved already. So I could just do whatever after that point. But sort of now, like, you don't often get the opportunity to shoot like a sci-fi short or a feature or something. So sort of like it's kind of just my excuse to play around with that, just in my free time by myself, just making, this kind of sci-fi universe that my videos like partially take place in. So, so that's kind of, I mean, I would love for it to be something that could sustain me. That would be pretty awesome. Again, I probably need to start producing a little bit more consistently for that. But so far, I just want to keep it so it doesn't become a burden, and I still like enjoy making the stuff. But I have some kind of big overarching plans for the channel. And sort of the first steps into that was that fake commercial that was in the beginning of the A7S video. I kind of have some plans to build a sort of a GX cinematic universe behind the videos. I just think it'd be fun to like slowly start transforming it into like a narrative that people like don't even realize that it's happening, and then you're like, wait, what? This is like a narrative? Or I don't know.
Yeah.
I just think it could be fun to play with
the Easter egg stuff.
And and to just play with like the tropes of YouTube, because everything's like sponsored and everyone, there's always ads. So I was like, I'm just going to start making fake ads that look like real ads and just like start messing with people. And people got pissed by that. Like people were like, what the hell? Like you're a shill. And I was like, yes, that's awesome.
Oh, they actually thought it was real.
Yeah, so, they're like, what the hell? I pay for YouTube Premium. Like, I can't believe creators are putting ads like directly in their videos now. And I'm like,
did you watch
I'm like,
it?
I don't know. I'm just like, I don't know what you're talking about. What ad?
Yeah,
so,
it's fantastic.
That's so good. Yeah, I'm scrolling down. So by the way, everybody should absolutely go watch this video if you haven't already. I'll link it in the show notes and in the description of the video on YouTube. But yeah, I'm looking at the comments, and somebody says, I literally was skipping that ad footage. Haha, you tricked me with that ad footage.
And by the way, this ad is almost entirely 3D made, and Casey learned 3ds Max in like 3 months.
Yeah, it's Cinema 4D.
Cinema 4D,
Octane.
sorry, not 3D.
Yeah.
Cinema
I've
4D.
actually been watching. Do you know Punisher?
No.
He's like the VFX dude for Corridor Digital.
Okay.
And he has his own channel, but he does a lot of like live streams on Cinema 4D and compositing and stuff.
That's awesome.
And just like after doing that commercial, which I mean, it took me a little while just because I was tweaking it, but honestly, it was easier than I thought it was.
Yeah.
And that sort of blew me away. And I'm like, man, you can do so much stuff with 3D and make it look really good now. And it's like relatively easy. And as long as you like know how to light stuff, like it works just like lights do in real life.
The hardest thing for most people is lighting. So that's.
Yeah, but at least in this, you don't have to buy lights.
That's
you just
also true.
Just hit.
And you can emulate lenses too. So.
Yeah, I'll send you guys in the chat here. This was my first, same exact situation where I had zero experience with 3D, and I made, if you skip to like, 30 seconds in or whatever, it's a music video.
Hold on, I'm gonna have to get up because my
no, you don't have to watch
5 feet away.
Don't watch it.
I'll look at it later.
You can watch it later. But yeah, same thing except with Element 3D in After Effects.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, it's pretty garbage, honestly, when I look at it now. But it was same thing where I got hired and somebody was like, "You think you could do this?" I was like, "Yeah, I can do that." And I was like, "I have no idea what I'm doing." But
that's freelancing for you.
It's
like,
fun.
"Oh, do you know how to do this thing?" It's like, "Nope," or it's like, "Yep," but you're like, "I have no idea what I'm doing," and then you just learn it.
If we're talking first 3D videos, then I'll send you guys mine.
Please do.
A music video for my band, and it's so bad.
I didn't know you were in a band.
I was in a band in high school and a little bit of college. We have an album on Spotify. I'll send it to you.
Was it a ska band?
Yeah, it's a ska band. It's a.
What do you play?
Like drums, and I sing. But
wow,
I played jazz drums since I was like 7.
Did you like the movie Whiplash?
Nice.
Whiplash is amazing. I forced Michael to watch it.
I still haven't seen that movie.
Oh, it's so good.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, it's
I'm actually known for not seeing very many movies. It's very funny. All my friends make fun of me. It's like, how are you like a cinematographer and you like haven't seen like any movies? But that's me.
Have you seen Blade Runner?
No.
your entire aesthetic is based on.
Have you actually not seen Blade Runner?
No, I have.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Which is funny because everybody says Japan is Blade Runner, but China is
China
1,000.
Yeah.
I mean, China is literally what like inspired Blade Runner. So it's like everybody's like, oh man, Tokyo looks so much like Blade Runner. It's like
while David's looking for that, Casey, what brought you to China? Why did you go there? How long were you there for? Was it just a visit, or were you actually living there?
Just pretty much my best friend is from there, so I go back every. I've been back every time she's like gone back to visit her family. So it's been like the last 3 years I've went there, and I'm slowly attempting to learn Chinese so I can have more fun while I'm there.
That's cool. Well, I think your aesthetic definitely fits in that world. Like if you actually were able to somehow live there, like for some reason I thought you actually did.
I know. Yeah. I mean, it's funny because everybody's like, oh man, I want to go to like Hawaii to like the beach for like a vacation. But I'm like, send me to like the weirdest, grungiest place in China, and like that's awesome because it literally looks 1,000% like Blade Runner all the time there. I love it.
That's so cool. Do you have any like specific cameras that you would be interested in reviewing that you just haven't had access to? Is there anything on your list that you really want to work on?
For the longest time, I obviously wanted an X-Pan because I built my own. But I have one now. I'm,
Casey
so do you,
and I are
Dave.
We're X-Pan bros. X-Bros.
Yeah.
We've been quote unquote working on like a dual review. I have the TX1, which is the Japan only Fujifilm version of the X-Pan.
Ooh,
the
fancy.
story is that Hasselblad wanted to make a technically medium format panoramic rangefinder, 35 millimeter panoramic rangefinder, but they didn't want to manufacture it, so they went to Fujifilm, and Fujifilm made it for them. But then they were like, we're already manufacturing this. We should just make a Japan-only version that is under the Fujifilm name. So that's my TX1, and then Casey has the X-Pan. So when he came and stayed with me last year, we started working on this like dual review video, and we still have all the footage, and it still looks really good, but we haven't put it together yet.
Partially because I don't have enough photos taken with
that's
it
a
that
big
I
part
like
of
feel
mine, too.
comfortable review, like because I really want to do it justice.
Every time I would put together an art board for like a treatment when I was a director and doing music videos and stuff, I would just go on Flickr and search Xpan, and then like you could just pull like people take the most cinematic images on that thing
because they're like naturally cinematic. Yeah, 65 by 24. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, if people aren't aware, this camera is basically like an ultra panoramic.
Let me grab mine. One sec.
Yeah, go grab it. And it uses 35 millimeter film, right? Or is it?
And it's effectively a 6x7 width.
Wow.
But it's it's only 2 high, so it's like 2x7 or 2x7. Yeah.
It's crazy.
So it's so the 45 millimeter lens is a 45 millimeter lens technically on 6x7 format. So
yeah. So
it works out to be a 22 millimeter 1.5 on full frame.
Oh my gosh. So yeah. So the width of it is equivalent of a 25, but the
22. Yeah.
But the compression is that of a 45.
The crop at least, because it's not anamorphic, so it doesn't.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's not quite the same, but yeah, if they made an anamorphic film camera, that'd be amazing. But no, they never will.
Well, that would be just putting an anamorphic lens on a camera.
Yeah, which is what I have done, but like it's so cumbersome and annoying to use that we don't want to use it very often.
So if you're an audio listener of the podcast, I would encourage you to go over to youtube.com, search for the Golden Hour Show, watch this clip so you can see David showing off his camera.
Yeah, so this is the TX1. It is made of pure titanium, which is why it's that like copper color. And then it has this wood grip that you could either get it with a wood grip or a black leather grip.
Nice. It looks like it's in perfect condition.
It's not.
It was.
It was when I bought it. So when I bought it, I bought it in Japan because my friend Jonas Rask, who he's an amazing photographer, one of my favorite photographers, and I've gotten to know him through just DMing him on Instagram and stuff. And he's also part of the Beers and Cameras thing. He made a blog post about the Xpan, and he does all Fujifilm's product photography, basically, like product shots. And he made this blog post about it, and I was like, I have to have this. So I went to Tokyo because I was already in Hong Kong and China for work. So I just popped over to Tokyo, and I found this camera. There was a shop that had like 3 of them, but it also had a special edition. So they released a special edition of the TX1, which comes with this metal Pelican case that says Fuji TX1 on it. And the special edition came with all 3 lenses. They only released 3 lenses.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
You had to get it.
Right. So it came with that. It came with 3 lenses. It came with 2 rolls of film, Fuji Superia 400 and Fuji Acros 100. It came with a special edition lens hood, and then this special edition.
Were you like hyperventilating when you saw this? Holy cow.
Yeah. So they actually don't. So when I brought this in, and it was completely unused. And but the 30 millimeter lens that you can get with these cameras is so rare. I think it was only like sold in the special edition kits or something. And because of that, it's so rare that they actually took it out of the one they were selling, and they were sold it separately for $5,000.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah. Whereas I was able. Yeah. So
I
was able to get the special edition, and it was brand new. Camera, 45 millimeter f4, 90 millimeter f4.
What are the odds that somebody would hold on to that for so long and not
It's one of those situations where someone just like buys something and then they end up just leaving it in their attic. And I don't really understand how that happens. But
that's almost the same with my Xpan. I actually got it in some like random small town in the north of Michigan that they basically the owner of the store it was like a camera store. The owner of the store didn't have the camera for sale in their normal inventory, but I was just talking to him. I was like, man, I really wish I had an Xpan. He's like, oh look, he's like, come to the back room. He's like, I got an Xpan, because he like didn't want the store to sell it. Like
what?
He wanted to sell it.
Oh.
So, like personally, because it was like his personal camera, but he didn't want to like do the deal at the store. But it was like some old lady had her husband died or something a long time ago, and it was just like in a box in their basement for a long time, and then she sold it to the camera store.
Wow. So I mean,
and that basically hadn't been used before.
The Xpan from Hasselblad, by the way, it's a Hasselblad camera, if people aren't aware. They do go for like over $2,000 on eBay, sometimes $5,000, right?
Yeah, with the lens, they
Yeah.
go for like $5,000. Yeah.
Is that a new thing? Like, have they just grown in popularity, or was it always that expensive? Like,
Yeah, cameras have kind of became stocks recently.
Yeah, Casey and I talk about this because we buy film cameras like they're candy, and the market for film cameras in particular over the last like 2 to 3 years has just completely skyrocketed. But the cool thing about it is like you can feel bad about spending money on a film camera, but stonks only go up, and these are basically stocks because specifically because there's a finite amount of resources, right?
Yeah.
There's a finite amount of cameras. They're going to break over time. They're going to get lost to time. They're not making them anymore. And if people keep wanting them, the market is just going to say, it's going to get more expensive. So I don't feel as bad hoarding these film cameras because I love them and they're beautiful and they're mine. And
you're taking care of them. So
in 5 years, I can probably,
and you use them. Yeah.
I'm taking care of them. My TX1 is in good condition, but when I got it, it was in brand new condition. But I could still probably sell this in a few years for like double what I bought it for,
Yeah.
Even though I'll never sell this camera.
What's that camera? It's a medium format rangefinder.
Yeah, technically,
small.
It's like 35. So I can't show you because I have a roll of film in it right now. Oh, you're talking about a different.
There's like the Machina 6.7.
Is that it?
You have one of those, right?
I know Sam Elkins has one.
A medium format film camera that's small.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's like the smallest one I can think of.
Yeah, I think that's it. Do you have one of those?
I think Dave does. I don't.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. What is it? Is it a Fuji? Or is it?
There's there's a few rangefinders. There's a Fuji one. I forget what it's called. It's like a GX.
Yeah, GWC
or something.
693. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And then that's it. I think.
Okay. Yeah, that actually was produced up until a few years ago.
Wait,
you could buy that new.
Or what's the one? Is it a Pentax one that I'm talking about? I don't remember.
Are you talking? Wait, so you're not talking about the Mangana? Are you talking about the Mangana?
Yeah, I guess that's
Dave just
one of them.
flies in with a amazing camera.
What is that? So what is that one?
You mean this camera, guys?
Yeah.
I don't think that's what I'm talking about, but tell me about this.
You mean the Mamiya 7?
That's it, the Mamiya. That's it, the Mamiya.
Oh, this one. Okay.
That one's
Yeah,
really
the Machina I think is the smallest medium format rangefinder.
Yeah. So this is
that's also really rare.
Yeah, it's a bellows based camera. So you can press a button and actually pull the bellows out, and then it has like and it
has a Nikon lens too.
It has a Nikon lens, which is cool. And you can adjust the bellows with this little knob on the top.
That is so dorky. I love it.
It's amazing. It's so beautiful, and it produces amazing images.
Why don't you have David? Why don't you have a film camera channel?
You're supposed to.
Am supposed to. Yeah, that's like supposed to be my.
You can really justify these purchases if you do that.
I know. Well,
I tell that to myself all the time.
Yeah, that's exactly. You make a purchase and you're like, if I make this purchase, I will definitely do this thing, and then I don't do it. Yeah, Sam probably has a Mamiya 7 or a Mamiya 7 too.
I think it's that one. Yeah, that's the one.
The Mamiya 7 glass, in my opinion, is like some of the best glass like ever created. It's so ridiculously good. It is ridiculously good. Yeah, I have a Mamiya 7 1 and Mamiya 7 2, but that's because I met a guy in Florida who sold me the 7 2 for like a third of market rate. So
is the 7 2 the better one, I would assume? Because
they're basically the same camera.
Yeah.
So they released like 5 or 6 years apart. But the only thing that they added to the 2 is they added this extra lug on the side. So if you want, you can carry it sideways. And then they added a double exposure function.
I don't care about that.
Yeah, those are literally the only 2 differences. Otherwise, this camera is the same as the one. So it's very good.
I mean, that's one of the things, just like those 2 cameras that you just pulled out, that's the reason I like cameras so much, is because there's so much variety, especially in older cameras. There's so many different cameras. Yeah. And that's actually what I think is sucks about cameras now, is they're pretty much all the same, and they pretty much all do the same thing.
Yeah.
And they all pretty much look the same.
And that's what's cool, I guess, about the fact that there's now these cube cameras and stuff coming out, is you're getting more variety. And I think Fujifilm in particular, does a good job of having a good variety. Like the X Pro 3 is like more of like a Leica style, and then you've got the XT3, which is more of a cross, and then they're going to make a video camera, and they've got the medium format. Yeah.
I mean, I keep like quoting myself from my videos, but like I feel like cameras need to be interesting to use like physically, or cell phones that can perfectly pick out the background and replicate lens characteristics and artifacts with AI are just going to completely take over like cameras eventually. I mean, that's definitely going to happen. So it's like, it's a different way to interface with taking photos, and just like, you use a tool for, there's different types of tools for doing different jobs. So it's like the physicality of using a camera, I think, needs to be part of what inspires you to use it.
No, and that's the whole reason like why I got into photography, was because the XT2 felt so much better to me than the GH5, and it was fun, right? Like people are always asking me like about my opinions on phone photography, because they know I'm a photographer and I do phone journalism. But like, I hate taking photos with my phone. Like I can assess the technical capabilities of it, but on any given day, like I don't care that my camera is bigger than my phone. I will take my camera specifically just because I like using it more. So
yeah, and I mean, I think I'm the only father in this conversation, right? You guys don't have kids? Yeah, I've got a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, and like it seems as though the importance of the photos have just dramatically skyrocketed for me. And I know there's plenty of parents out there and plenty of even creators out there who are totally fine with using their phone to capture their children. But to me, it's like, there's no question in my mind that like I want good, high quality, beautiful images of my kids, because like every day they are changing and growing, and like it's blowing my mind now that I have a second one. I'm seeing, comparing that to the first one, how fast they grow. It's nuts. So like, I really want the perfect camera. I've almost thought about, because I am in this weird limbo right now where I'm also taking a break for the first time in 3 years from YouTube, because I quit my job with Indie Mogul in January. So I've already gone a month without creating any videos on YouTube, and I'm trying to figure out what I want to do next. And I was even thinking about making a section of my content about finding the perfect like dad camera.
I think that the Fuji X100 is like the perfect camera for photographing kids and growing up with kids, because it's just so pocketable, and the image quality is so ridiculously good.
One of the things that is so important to me, and I never would have known this unless I had toddlers, is the face and eye tracking of cameras is so important, because toddlers are moving so much.
Yeah.
I'm noticing like the only cameras that can even keep up with a toddler are Sony cameras.
Yeah, with the face tracking. Though you probably follow Matt Day, right? I mean, he makes it a big point to photograph his kids like every single day, and he does that with film. So I guess it is possible.
He's able to make it work.
But I mean, maybe he just has a superpower. I don't know.
No, I mean, people have been taking photos of children with film cameras for decades.
Right.
So,
yeah. It's not like sure. It's but the face tracking would make it a lot easier for sure.
Yeah, I have a ZV-1, which it's kind of like you have to weigh the pros and cons of like, you want a small camera that you can kind of have with you at all times, but like I don't want the sensor to be too small. So like the 1-inch sensor isn't enough for me. I want full frame. So you guys may know, like I'm a big Olympus guy. I love my Olympus cameras because it seems to be the perfect middle ground of like I can get a 1.2 aperture lens on there. It has really good face and eye tracking. The IBIS is insane. It's weatherproofed, got a flip screen. Like yesterday I was in the snow taking pictures of my kids building a snowman, and it was getting covered with snow, and the whole thing was getting completely wet. And I'm like, okay, weatherproof is on the list of a dad cam too.
Yeah.
High burst rate, because they move around so much. Anyways, I'm going too long on this topic.
No, I mean Olympus cameras are cool, dude. Like it's kind of sad that they sold off their business. I'm wondering if Panasonic does anything with it, but. The
new owners have repeatedly said that they are continuing production. So
Okay.
and there was a recent article on 4/3 Rumors where they interviewed the new head of the company, and he was talking about how this year they do have a couple of cameras that they're going to release. So we'll see. I mean, I'm hopeful for the future. They did a ProRes RAW update right before Christmas for the Olympus EM1 Mark II, so that was promising. I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, but it's honestly, it's kind of dumb. Like, nobody knows this about Olympus, but like, I talked about on my channel because I switched. I was like, this is the perfect vlogging camera that everybody wanted. It's got amazing IBIS. The autofocus is great. The flip screen is there. The color science is way better than Sony. And the lenses are small and compact, and it does 4K. So I don't know.
And like the small sensor, I think, is a benefit for vlogging because like people don't need to shoot like 1.4 on a 24 millimeter
Exactly.
and like show where they're at. It's like it's all just blurry in the background.
Yeah.
So it's like
I think most people like just for some reason they're just very attached to the full frame thing. So
Yeah,
like
totally.
they don't want a big. I mean, it's not a huge camera, but it's not a small camera, right?
Well, that's the thing is like the A7S III with
Is
some of
smaller
their
than
prime
it,
lenses can
Can
actually be smaller than a Micro Four
Yeah.
Thirds. So.
So yeah.
Well, I feel like we could probably talk for another 3 hours about like just random stuff, but it's been
Before we end, actually, I just want to say the one thing about Olympus that I really like,
Yeah.
and I wish other camera manufacturers would bring, is the thing that you can do when you're in bulb mode and it shows the exposure growing over time.
Ooh, yeah.
Trying to remember the name of that. For astrophotography,
so you can just preview it without having to
yeah,
guess.
so like over
Yeah.
time you can see the exposure kind of like coming in to
Just like an iPhone, basically.
yeah, like a
the night
preview.
mode.
Exactly, like
Yeah.
a preview. Yeah, like an iPhone. Like whenever I do astrophotography, it's so annoying that you have to like basically just guess. Or if you're doing just nighttime photography in general, you have to guess the exposure, but that actually shows it in real time. They probably have a patent on it because nobody else has added it, and I'm not really sure why.
It's really great. And this, similar to what Casey was saying about Fuji cameras, I know it does have kind of some retro,
No,
It
they
definitely
totally
does.
do. They totally do.
Yeah.
but
They're like
it's,
the other one that
it's a little bit more ergonomic, I think. Like the grip kind of throws it off. It looks kind of ugly, but it does feel really good. And the buttons are great. The layout's amazing. Like,
Yeah.
they're super. I feel like Olympus is really underrated. Like, it's a great company, and I don't think you should count Micro Four Thirds out because you can get such good IBIS with Micro Four Thirds.
Yeah. Right.
But the resolution isn't that great. I take pictures of the kids with it, and you zoom in just a little bit. It's like, it's not
falls
that
apart.
sharp. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but it does have the high res mode, and I
Oh.
would use that for thumbnails sometimes. So, like, if I'm doing a thumbnail on a
nice.
camera, I just set it. You can actually hand hold it because the IBIS is so good, and it'll do an 80 megapixel still,
Ooh, damn.
which is pretty cool.
It's like a pixel shift.
Yeah, it's like taking
by
the
handheld. That's awesome.
Yeah, the IBIS is
really
so
good
good.
IBIS.
Yeah, the IBIS is so good. It's best in class IBIS. Like, it's everybody talks about it. Like,
Yeah.
Olympus has the
Yeah.
best IBIS in the biz. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
anyways,
'Cause,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think they might have some patents or something or rather. But everybody uses Sony sensors, even Fuji. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yep. It's true. It's true.
You just can't talk about that with every time I would go to NAB, I'd be like, so is this I go like to the Nikon booth with the Z6. I'm like, so this is the A7 III sensor, right? And they're like, no, it's a Nikon sensor. I'm like, well, no, I mean, it's the same megapixels. It's like, this company, I forget what it's called. They actually will do X-rays of the sensor, and you can actually see the model number on it.
Okay.
And it's the same model number. So like,
You saw the drama with the red mags and the red sensor from that
Yeah,
dude on
that's right.
YouTube who was like debunking. It's like, these are just off the shelf SSDs.
Oh yeah. Yep.
yeah, I mean, these companies got to make money somehow, and Sony. It's okay, like if Sony makes all the sensors because each company has their own interpretation of color science, and they have their own people.
Yeah, I mean, everything is de-Bayered or I guess de-X-transed.
Yeah, exactly. And
Fuji camera.
I think Canon and Sony are the only companies companies that make their own sensors. That's why Canon has such a unique look compared to other companies, because they do actually make their own sensors. But you know, I did get this C70 for my new job. That's the only reason why I have it. I'm doing just a lot of video, long form stuff, shooting for like 2 to 4 hours at a time. I needed 4K 10-bit, and having built-in NDs and all that stuff is great. So I went with
no 30-minute record time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It just so happens to also be a pretty good little YouTube camera too, because it's not that big and it's got a nice little flip screen on it, and the autofocus is great. So I'm happy with the C70, but it's a little, I still like the hybrid life. I mean, is there something to hybrid shooting for you guys that, like, you could both get a cinema camera if you wanted to? Why do you choose to use a hybrid?
I mean, like, I just imagine traveling, and I already take too much crap with me, and I have too many cameras, obviously, and it's legitimately an issue with deciding what I want to bring. And it's like, if I had a camera, because I'm definitely going to want to film stuff when I travel, so I don't want to like have to have a camera that can only do that. I mean, I've been considering the Blackmagic camera because it's just so cheap, but I just borrowed the 4K the other day, and to me, Micro Four Thirds is too limiting because most of my lenses are like M mount lenses, and I like those focal lengths, so like the crop factor is too much for me. And then for some reason, camera companies keep using the EF mount, which I don't know why. They should just stop
put
using
RF
that.
on it, yeah, at least.
Yeah, like everything should be RF mount. It's like I don't know.
Because you can adapt it. Yeah.
You can adapt to anything. Like, just pick whatever the shortest flange distance mount is and make every camera that, in my opinion.
I think that's Nikon, technically, Z mount, but nobody's
yeah,
gonna do
I think
that.
technically the Z, that'll never happen. So RF it is, I guess.
For me, like, I lived out of a suitcase for 3 years, and I literally had a backpack.
That's a big suitcase. You lived in it?
Oh, actually, yeah, I lived inside of it. Yeah. No, so when I was going to Switzerland one time, my suitcase got lost and all my clothes went missing. So, I just decided, like, I got like triggered by that. So I was like, I'm never checking anything ever again. So I got a carry-on size suitcase and my backpack, and I lived out of just that for 3 years. So, like, while it would have been nice to have an extra camera, I was stuffed to the brim, and I had to do all my reporting and all my video production with just what I had on me. So
we never talked about this. Like, so when you got hired with Android Authority, did you just decide, like, screw it, I'm just going to travel the world because I can work anywhere? Like, what happened? What did you do?
So I was working with them for a while. They asked me to move to San Francisco to work on a side project they were working on, which eventually got turned into like a newsletter thing. But it was supposed to be a new YouTube channel, a new website, and it's kind of been scrapped. But either way, so I moved to San Francisco from Santa Cruz, and I was working with them, but they kind of shut that down. But I was still living in San Francisco. But when I became kind of the main video person on Android Authority, I was traveling like 3 weeks out of the month. And I was living in San Francisco in a 1-bedroom apartment with four other people, and paying $1,000 a month to share a 1-bedroom with 4 other people. And I was like, if I'm gone three
wait, hold on. $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
For a 1-bedroom with 4 people.
But it was okay because the year before, when I was in college, we had 10 people in a 2-bedroom, and I slept in the pantry. So I was used to it.
So I would assume that. So San Francisco, like, landlords, I assume, are used to this idea that multiple people are going to live there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. San Francisco and the Bay Area, like, yeah, multiple people live in these areas.
Crazy.
But yeah, I mean, I was doing that. So anyway, I was traveling like 3 weeks out of the month, but I was still paying like over $1,000 because, like, it was $1,000 just for the rent, and then there was the utilities. And I was like, if I'm traveling for work 3 weeks out of the month, why do I even have an apartment?
Yeah.
So when my lease expired, I was just like, I'm just not gonna get a new apartment. And it worked well because, Android Authority would send me to some country, and then once you're in like Europe or Asia, it's like $15 to go to the next country over. So I just started like country hopping, and I would be doing stuff for work almost every week, if not every other week. So it was like I would do some stuff and then go to a nearby country, hang out, explore it, and also
that
write
is so fun.
It was so fun. And the pandemic kind of ruined everything. Because I was doing that basically up until the pandemic, and then I got a place in New York, and the rest is
now you're stuck.
I would say history.
Now you're stuck to old MKBHD.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So anyway, I mean,
it's a period of your life. There's chapters in all of our lives, and that was a really cool chapter of yours.
It was. I get stressed because I'm like, I feel like I wasn't done. Like I just wanted to keep doing it forever because I feel more comfortable in chaos and like the unknown than I do in repetition. So it's
buy a van and become a van lifer.
That was actually my plan this year. In March, I was going to move to Washington State and just kind of like mull around Washington State in a van.
That was also my plan for this summer, but didn't get it all finished until the winter started.
That was my plan this year, and then I got the new job, and so with the new job, I have to be here at least for.
And, things are going to be normal eventually. We'll be able to all see each other at CES again one day. And, I'm sure as Marques brings more people in, he's going to want to expand what they're doing, which would probably include travel. So
we'll be traveling, and it's not like I'm going to stop traveling. But
just like the sky's the limit with him. Like I could see him doing another interview with Elon Musk, and like you're going to be able to hang out with Elon Musk before you know it. So like
probably.
It's such a cool opportunity, and I had some really big people I looked up to give me some advice when I got offered the job for Indie Mogul, and what they said too is kind of like associating yourself with a brand like that is going to just really help your career moving forward. And even if this is a temporary thing for you, like being able to just be around him and see how he works and be collaborating with other great collaborators. And you're going to meet so many people that you may not be able to meet because you're associated with him. So
also just like all the people on their team are just so talented.
Exactly.
That's my main excitement is just like working with other people. Like I've made videos with Brandon, and it's so fun. It's so much better. It's hard being a solo YouTuber.
It is.
I feel like that's the thing that people don't talk about enough is how like lonely it can get.
It is lonely.
It's been nice, like living with Michael actually, because we're both making
Casey's
videos.
laughing because he's like,
I'm laughing in the darkness, but I'm actually crying slightly.
I mean, even that, like,
just in my spaceship.
It's great living with Michael because we can like help each other out with videos, but it's still like a lonely job. And I love working from home, but I think I love working with people that I like appreciate and look up to more than that. So it's a worthwhile trade-off. But I keep joking to people that within a couple of years, when we're expanding more, I'm gonna ask Marques if I can open like a West Coast branch in Washington and do that. Awesome. Cover Amazon and Microsoft that way. So.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, I was just talking to a friend this morning about how I think I realized that I enjoy the people in the industry in this YouTube world more than the stuff I'm actually talking about. So the fact the only reason I'm making reviews about stuff is so I can hang out with all you guys.
Like events have always been my favorite part of the job, and that's because of the people you meet. I've got so many friends that I would not have met at all if I didn't do this kind of thing.
I know it's a collaboration of like-minded people that are crazy enough to put ourselves out there on the internet and talk about nerdy stuff that our family and friends have no idea what we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
I think
I don't think my parents know what I do still. So.
I think my wife just got so tired of me just talking about camera gear all the time, and once I started having an outlet to just kind of talk about cameras, it really actually helped my relationship.
There's some relationship advice for all you guys out there.
Start a YouTube channel.
Start a YouTube channel to talk about your vices.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for being on. We'll have to do this again. This was really fun having both of you on. I feel like we could talk for hours about all this stuff. And, it's hard to balance both of you because you're both unique and different in your own way. And I want to talk about your things, and I don't know, maybe we could do an individual thing too in
That's
the future.
what I'm saying, man. I was saying Casey deserves his own episode.
Well, it's fun. This
you
is my
both
first
do.
time ever doing a podcast, so this was fun. Never done one before, so.
Well, I just took I popped your cherry, your podcast cherry. I'm gonna have to cut that out. No, I think it's
Demonetized.
It's fun. It was fun.
But yeah, thanks for being on, guys. This was a blast, and
Thanks for the
Yeah,
invite.
thank you, Dave.
hopefully I'll see you in person. Probably next year, but eventually it'll happen.
At some point, we'll figure
For
it out.
sure.
All right.